There's the one who's totally uncensored. As far as they're concerned, everyone watches on their own schedule. So once something's out there, it's fair game. Then there's the spoiler that does it for sport. You can count on this frenemy to introduce you to your next TV show, but they'll be sure to remind you who saw it first. There's also the master of saying it without saying it. They speak the language of spoilers so fluently, they sneak them into conversations where only another fan can find them. We can't forget about the spoiler that lives in their own innocent world. If they've seen it, obviously everyone else must have too. It never dawns on them. It casually revealed a huge plot twist. And last but not least, the ones so excited, they just can't hide it. So thrilled to be talking about their favorite show, they gave away the next 3 seasons in a single breath. By the looks of it, it seems spoilers are here to stay. It's nothing personal, just one of the many things that comes along with this new golden age of TV. And what if instead of spoilers turning you off, they actually turn you on to your next TV obsession?
Yeah, let's go, 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 go! As good as Vader's son and as bad as what Snape did. Welcome to Cordkillers. To report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, my friends, have the information you need to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on any device you please. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and I seriously have to know how long you were sitting on that line. When did you come up with that? Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
20 seconds before the show started.
Yeah, by the way, Spock dies at the end, and you can find out all these other amazing spoilers if you go to spoilers.netflix.com. Check this out, man. They have this entire site that it says here, what kind of spoiler are you? What spoilers are in the public domain? Spoil yourself. Click on Spoil Yourself. Look at this. They got this button here.
I almost ruined my day with this thing because once you start, you can't stop.
All right. Hey, by the way, random spoiler coming in your face right now.
Spoiler alert.
There's a giant button that says, "Are you sure?" And then it says Scandal Season 3. And obviously, some big spoiler from a show I don't watch just happened.
You know, some of them I'm like, I know I've seen that movie, but I wasn't sure what just happened. Like, they're pretty quick.
Well, and that's just it. Here, run through a few of these because here's what's amazing, and
You know who I am now.
Oh, I saw this one, and I have no idea what this one's from or what's going on. This didn't spoil anything.
Crank up the volume on this. The audio listeners are freaking out. Here, go for it. There we go. Listen.
Today I found out that I'm pregnant. With Mark's baby.
No, not Mark's baby!
I want to believe you, Francis. I know you...
Oh, see, that's a coded one because, like, I know where that one's from, but if you don't, you might not really get what's going on.
All of these, like right here, you just saw the ending of The Graduate, and it's like, this is what's amazing is they do a fantastic job of making the point that spoilers only mean something once you have the context for it. So calm down about whether or not you're giving up a spoiler or whatever. I swear I sat for like an hour.
Oh, man.
All right, kill it. We got to stop.
We just blew off half the audience
This guy,
with it.
I see what you said. Hey, man, look, let's jump in. Well, in fact, we'll discuss what we got some Netflix stories coming up. We'll discuss about the relevance of this campaign right here. But first, we have to introduce our esteemed guest.
Yes, Bill Duran is joining us today. Bill Duran is a prop maker, cosplayer extraordinaire, costume maker, chin beard on Twitter, man about the morning stream. If you don't know Bill Duran, my God, get out there and know Bill Duran. How's it going, brother?
All of those words you just said are true about me.
I would love. I want to see one pundit on CNN that's his only response to everything is all of those words you said are true.
And also, though, the reason why I ended up on this show is I used to work in the streaming video business, doing internet video stuff.
Hold on, when you say used to work, like what was your job? I don't think I ever heard about your life before you quit your day job.
Oh, that was when I was born, when I was 28. No, I worked at the Microsoft Video Marketplace for like 4 years.
Never knew that.
No, Bill and I had a great conversation at DragonCon this year about the hoops that they were jumping through and the challenges they faced in trying to get the good stuff up there on the box so that people could watch it when they wanted, at least on that device. And I think he has some really good insights into how all this stuff works.
Oh yeah.
Well, right on, man. Shall we dive right in then?
Definitely.
Let's start off with our primary target. I have to say the primary target kind of in a lower voice, Brian, because my wife is home, working from home.
And as we all know, your wife is a spy for the enemy. She's working for the cord industry, trying to establish more cords.
No. It's that kind of the opposite. She works for YouTube. But our primary target story here today is that all the stars are leaving YouTube. PewDiePie has struck an exclusive agreement with MLG, Major League Gamer, to bring his podcast called Broken to stream exclusively on the esports network. PewDiePie is like the gargantuan titan of YouTube, with millions and millions of subscribers, and taking video exclusively somewhere else has just rocked several newsletters' headlining writing abilities.
Yes, well, as we all know, Tom, that when one becomes famous on YouTube, Satan arrives and takes an ounce of your blood and tells you that you shall forever only be beholden to YouTube.
Actually, I think it's gotten blown out a little out of proportion in some of the articles I read about it. But Felix Kjellberg is, a.k.a. PewDiePie, going to stream episodes of his series Broken. He's actually already started doing it on MLG.tv. He's still posting them to YouTube later. He's still putting it out as a podcast. However, on Thursday, YouTube's Alex Carlos wrote a blog post saying that YouTube's going to invest millions of dollars into some of its biggest stars. So they're going back to the stars who might be tempted to do more deals like this and saying, hey, we got a pot of money here. We can help you. We can fund some seasons of things. We can bring you contacts in Hollywood and make some more collaborations. And all of this comes at the same time that Frank and Maggot and Associates put out some research today. They surveyed 2,400 people and asked them, we've got a list of online sources of video to watch TV shows. Which one do you use? Not Netflix, not Hulu, not Amazon Prime was number one. It was YouTube. 38% when asked about TV shows, interestingly, said, I watch YouTube. Now, 33% was Netflix. It was right on their heels, and then Hulu and Amazon Prime.
So YouTube's greasing them wheels again. I think they're doing it in a smart way. They're taking homegrown talent and they're figuring out, like, what are these niches? What's this wheelhouse? What's something that has proven success? And how can we fund their next dream, right? And I would imagine that they're going to go to the bigger partner stations. For example, let's say, for argument's sake, that you have a YouTube channel that's in, say, the top 1,000 of all YouTube channels, right? Let's say you're close to maybe about to pass 1 million subscribers, and that your channel is all about how to win free drinks at the bar, and you have an idea for another project that could be made bigger. So I think the question on all of our minds is, who does that person call?
Wait, the question on Brian's mind is, what is the naming convention for email addresses at YouTube? Is it Alex.Carlos? Or
Yes, exactly. Dude, I'm telling you what, man, this is great. Knowing that what was it? They called it on The Wire, the money engine, or when they were talking about, like, the faucet was open again. Like,
the money spigot. Like, I can't remember what they called it.
Yeah, money spigot. There you go. Like, for the first time, I'm thinking, like, I've never reached out to a single person at YouTube, but I do have some ideas that I'd love to try, and now it's like I actually want to call them up. Full disclosure, I want money from YouTube.
I want to put this question to you, Bill, because I think what's interesting about this is the fact that YouTube fell all over itself when it funded channels several years ago, and people argue whether that channel funding was successful or not, but they very much said, we are not giving people money because we're an original content platform. We're staying out of it, but we're giving channels money so that they can get boosted up and start making, better content. This time around, the tone from Alex Carlos's post was a little different. It was very much saying, like, hey, we've got a lot of money and we want you to make really good stuff on YouTube. And this idea, I think what pulled these stories all together for me is this idea of people seeing YouTube as a TV station now. 38%, when they asked about TV shows, thought of the things they watch at YouTube as TV shows, and 24% movies, by the way. I think, you're starting to see slowly the old Hollywood method starting to take shape inside of YouTube. What do you think?
I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, I'm one of those people who does watch YouTube like television. I have my computer hooked up to my TV and I watch YouTube channels there. Hopefully, it's a sort of thing where people could, if they get funded outside of their ad revenue, they could make content that's good instead of just content that gets a lot of views. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And I know that, like, looking at PewDiePie and looking at what some of these channels like It's Grace or they're very much about the reality, the connection, the sort of like, hey, I'm just a regular person talking to you about my life, right? If you watch this PewDiePie MLG TV series, Broken, it starts like we start Cordkillers on the live stream, just people in the middle of a sentence talking.
I'll tell you what.
What do they need the money for?
It was weird for me to watch that because very much it's just a podcast where they happen to be playing a game during at the time. And I understand that this was made for his YouTube audience and from that the Major League Gaming audience or whatever. But as I was watching it, I couldn't help keep thinking about Twitch.tv and about how all of their content has to be gaming related. And we had made a joke about like just having freaking Pac-Man running in the background or whatever. That's almost exactly what's happening on this PewDiePie video that I saw. They're playing a game, but the parts I saw never referenced the game. It was not about the content of the game. It was like, well, you guys like games, so here's a game in the background while we talk about how nice gay people are. It was very strange to me.
But and I guess that's what I'm meaning. Like, that's a very podcast ethos, and this started as a podcast for PewDiePie, so I think it fits right into the podcast world that way. How does it fit for MLG TV, and how does it fit as something that you might want to fund? And I'm not saying that YouTube is going to fund PewDiePie to do that show and steal him back from MLG TV, but that's the kind of stuff that's capturing people's attention here. And I guess the idea is that's not the only thing that captures people's attention. There's also epic rap battles of history. There's also Teens React and the other Fine Brothers stuff in here too. And maybe those, if you say like, hey, we'll give you a little extra money to take those on the road and shoot them in locations that you couldn't otherwise access or something like that.
MLG might be doing something like the Learning Channel did, where it's turning into like TLC turned into more reality type shows that got massively popular versus the more the content that was more towards what the Learning Channel was when it started.
You mean back when they were actually teaching things on the Learning Channel? Yeah.
So Major League Gaming might be like, well, this is related close enough to what our thing was when we started, and we know it's going to get a lot of views. So let's run with it. Yay.
And Alex Carlos's title on his blog post is Head of YouTube Originals. So all of a sudden, YouTube is making original programming, is what this sounds like.
Alex_Carlos, Alex.Carlos. I just want to make sure I get this right.
I feel like maybe you're a little distracted by the possibilities inherent here.
Well, as and to be honest, I obviously am very skewed as somebody who's created a moderately successful YouTube property that seems to be having a lot of traction. Scam School continues to do really well. In full disclosure, it looks like Scam School is going to cross over the million subscriber mark sometime in the next 3 months or so, which is super exciting because fewer than 1,000 people have ever done that, and I'm very, very proud. However, having said all of that, Scam School has become a format that's kind of set in stone. We've been doing the same thing for 7 years, as you very well know, Tom, since you listened to the pilot being edited in your apartment back in the day. And the idea that somebody might be funding stuff that would give me the opportunity to explore anything I want, if that person will take my phone call, then I want to make that happen.
Yeah, because he writes here, helping them not only fulfill their creative ambitions, but also deliver new material to their millions of fans. And I think it's really, I don't think we've really cracked like what this could mean. I think we are seeing the Amazon, eBay solidification of video providers right now. And what I mean by that is there was this point in the dot-com boom where all the dot-coms were just going to drive brick and mortar out of existence, right? And then there was this point where, oh, none of the dot-coms are any good. They all suck and they're failing. And then there was, well, actually eBay's pretty good and Amazon's pretty good, and they'll stand next to some of these other older e-commerce companies. Name me an e-commerce company that isn't struggling that wasn't a dot-com. right? How many brick and mortars have really made the transition? We got Amazon and eBay who came in and they're like, they're giving retail a run for its money. I feel like we're seeing a similar thing happen here where YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, again in Instant Prime, are doing that same thing where they're like, oh, come on, cable's not dying. The broadcast networks are adapting and they're doing great. And we're going to see a lot of attention swing towards these other channels as they make really high quality original programming that we've already seen happen from Netflix and Amazon, and to a certain extent, Hulu and YouTube as well.
So here's the biggest difference. Here's the institutional advantage that I suppose YouTube is really banking on. I think this continues to be a smart move on their part. And you probably know this, Tom, since you live in Los Angeles. You understand. You probably talk to a lot of old media people who work on television and so on.
I don't leave my house, Brian, but I appreciate the
okay. I would like to imagine you do. The way traditional Hollywood works, you know, Breaking Bad was originally written to take place in Riverside, California. However, there's so many taxation benefits to being out in New Mexico that they rewrote the whole story just to move it out to New Mexico, right? And beyond that, they were still working within a unionized structure within ASCAP and SAG and all of these institutions that are extraordinarily expensive. They're still tied to multi-million-dollar conglomerates who have to accept liability if on a shoot a pyro thing goes bad and they burn down 12 acres of whatever. So in order to light a single candle, they hire, a truck with, 8,000 gallons of water to spray down the entire area. These are all inherently wasteful things. And meanwhile, YouTube is seeing over the last 7 years this curation of young talent that is using tools that might be pirated from Adobe, that is shooting stuff without permits or permission on location, that's displaying brands and logos because they have nothing to lose. Now, YouTube, of course, benefits from the traction of all of this. So in other words, the more YouTube can make itself the hotbed of if you're a creator who wants to create what you want, when you want, telling whatever story you want, they want to be the space that attracts all that so that it turns around and it gives the middle finger to Hollywood because Hollywood has
I don't know, man. I think this story is showing the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I think this story shows like, hey, we got a Hollywood guy who's got Hollywood connections, can get you some Hollywood money. This isn't just about going rogue and using your questionably sourced software anymore. We're gonna go legit.
Well, but that's just it. It's the money that comes from being legit. But I guarantee you, YouTube ain't doing no audits to make sure that you're using legitimate copies of what was the thing everyone stole in the 90s? Pyromania? Yeah, Pyromania.
I kind of almost know for a fact that they do.
Well, really? Wait, do you have some kind of inside
Well, I mean,
track?
my wife works at the YouTube Space LA, and one of her biggest headaches is going through and making sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed on everything that is created in the space because YouTube has liability there.
All right, well, that's fine. Even if I'm totally wrong about the content use, and I'm sure that they cover all their bases on the content, and they probably cover it on the tools being used, but I guarantee you they don't look at something after the fact and say, were you permitted according to your local community, laws in Harris County, Texas?
If they're funding it or it's shot at the spaces, they actually are. That's the crazy thing. Right. They're not going to everybody on YouTube and asking that. You're absolutely right about that. But once they get involved, once they put their money behind it, they have to ask those questions.
Yeah, I do lots of YouTube videos in my shop, and they haven't once asked me about OSHA regulations. Thank goodness.
Which you're perfectly compliant with. You're just noting that they have.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they just haven't asked me, though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, let me... as many of you guys know, my LA vacation turned out not to be a vacation, but instead I had the opportunity to work on a television project that I can't say anything more about yet. But hypothetically, at that kind of stuff, there was an atmosphere where you might pop a champagne cork and then pour a bottle of champagne or pour a glass of champagne, and then, like, as television does, the next time you're seen with that champagne, it's actually sparkling grape juice because you're not allowed to drink on television or whatever, which might have been a little bit weird for a guy who spent 320 episodes drinking actual beer on YouTube. and so it's like
Right.
it's those efficiencies that YouTube has the opportunity to take advantage of that I think is their real end game here. I think that they understand.
And that's a really good example because I'm pretty sure that that's the kind of thing that they wouldn't be as worried about because there's a whole different world of it's broadcast television and you can't show that, tradition. It's not an actual law, right? And that kind of stuff YouTube doesn't care about. They're like, people do what they want.
There's
right?
also weird traditions like, joining unions and paying, paying for gaffers and all that kind of stuff. Because again,
you've got it. They've got to deal with that. Again, that's the point I'm trying to make here is YouTube is moving towards that world. And when certain productions come into to shoot, they're going to have to sometimes there'll be union shoots and they'll have to have union folks. That all of those kinds of things are now becoming concerns for YouTube creators if they want to take advantage of this program.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an underscore or a dot. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. I'll find out.
All right.
Hey, I'll wait till after the show. 53. Do you know what the number 53 represents?
Yeah, dude. It's a deck of cards plus a joker.
Yeah. The Joker is that one guy who hasn't backed us on Patreon yet. The other 52 are the 52 nice people who are about to and get us to 2,000 Patreon backers.
Oh, my gosh. Are we really only 52 people away from...
53.
Dude, 53? Come on, man. Look, so I get all the emails when people sign up on patreon.com/Cordkillers and decide to become one of our bosses. And we ain't asking for your money. We don't care about your money. We just love having all you guys be our bosses. And we made a joke about pledging a nickel per show or even a penny per show. And what I love is every time I see one person pledge a penny per show, number one, screw you, cheapskate, boss. Sorry. But number two, it's like I know that they're doing what matters to us, which is they are making the step of going from someone who consumes what we say to somebody who has a hand in shaping what we say. And that means the world to us. We couldn't be prouder. This is one of the first opportunities in my life where the more bosses I have, the happier I am. And we can't thank our patrons enough. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
We are unionized against you, bosses. Brian and I both agree on things, but other than that,
we have agreed to disagree once a week for sure.
Let's move on to signals intelligence. Intelligentsia. Pretty much the gist of this segment this week, which is always about the streaming services, is that Netflix is arriving in loads of new places, some of them geographic, some of them operating systems. Netflix has shown up now over the course of the past week in France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Belgium, and Luxembourg, bringing them to 40 countries they are now inhabiting. They are adding themselves to set-top boxes. I want to talk about that in a little while. But they're also coming to Linux natively, apparently. There's an HTML5 version of Netflix that's being developed to replace the Silverlight version. And the developer at Netflix said, if you just added this library to Ubuntu, our HTML5 version of Netflix would play on Linux tomorrow. And so the guy in charge of that part of Ubuntu said, you know what? I was going to add that library in the next release. Maybe early next week, I'll take a look at that and get it in there faster. So hope for the Linux crowd who wants to play Netflix without some kind of workaround like wine. But in the geographic area, Brian, it's really interesting. Remember, we had that big conversation of should Netflix show up on a Comcast set-top box? And what they're doing in Europe, where things work a little differently, they're adding themselves to set-top boxes all over Europe right now.
So this is what's funny. Like at the time, I was really offended by the idea that I perceived it as Comcast's and Time Warner's trying to co-opt the momentum of Netflix and it being a bad thing. But at the same time, realizing that different countries have different structures and different licensing agreements, and you can't get the Roku in this town, but you can get it in that town, and so on. Weirdly, when it's on the international scene, I couldn't be happier. I'm like, put it on all of the set-top boxes. And I understand that that's hypocrisy, and that's fine. But it's amazing to me. I mean, it's like I'm really excited about this. What about you, Bill? Do you care what happens in Crozakistan?
I do. Actually, one of the really frustrating things when I worked for the video marketplace was dealing with content windows in different countries. So something might go up in France, the UK, and Germany, the same content, except it would go up at different times in each one of them, and then it would come down for no real reason. And I would really rather just see all the content and the Netflix and everything everywhere, always. That would be a much better world to live in.
That is one of the interesting things about this is, for instance, House of Cards is not on Netflix in France because Canal Plus has the rights to House of Cards in France. And I don't know if that was short-sightedness on Netflix's part when they signed the deal and allowed the rights to be given away or sold away in other countries, but there's still that problem. There's still that windowing issue.
There's a lot of the content deals too, even with the same piece of content, like the same movie. One country might have the license to put it in the US, and then another different company, one company have it in the US, another company would have it overseas, so it would get published under different names, under different windows, and it was confounding because it would get posted on the Xbox and everyone around the world would be like, let's go watch the new movie, yay! Unless you live in the UK, you can't watch it.
Right. And they're like, but I have an Xbox. What's the big deal? Why should it matter? God, I hope those rules just die eventually, and it becomes rights for the world.
I mean, well, as we've talked about before, like we all hope for it, but also there's the reality that that these are unlike technological hurdles that are easy to jump over. Legal hurdles tend to have the annoying fact that they remain law after they cease to be relevant.
Right, because it's not like we just need to solve the technical problem and everybody's trying to solve the technical problem. It's actually people in the way, and people are harder to fix.
Especially people getting paid. Turns out that people getting paid don't like to not be paid.
Right.
It turns out they like to continue to own things and get paid. Hey, since we're talking about Netflix again, I do want to touch back on our opening story before the primary target. This whole idea that Netflix internally has recognized that they have a big hand in creating this institutional worldwide problem of the etiquette of spoiler handling, and that they've taken this kind of bold Tom Merritt-esque stance that, screw you, spoilers are fine, maybe it'll turn you on to something, so here's all the spoilers in the world. Like, this is not the way I thought the spoiler argument was going to go down, but they're coming at it so hard and with such intensity, and they're owning it so good that it's like, I think they may shape the way the world views about spoilers.
I don't think they're... I think the genius of what they're doing, too, is that they're not trying to have the answer, right? They're not trying to come to you with an algorithm that says, here is when it is okay to spoil. They just went and said, here, we're going to prove to you that we know what's up. So we're going to describe this kind of spoiler, this kind of spoiler, this kind of spoiler. And we're all like, oh, yeah, I know that guy. Oh, I'm that guy. And then Brian's that guy. And Jeff Kanata's that guy. And it just really tied into the gestalt of everybody who watches Netflix, that you were like, oh, they get me.
But
I feel a part of this conversation.
Again, everything you said is how I felt up until I started using the app and clicking the button. And what I realized, it was one of two things. It was either a story I'd seen before, in which case I was like, holy crap, that is a huge spoiler they just gave up. Or it was a story that I was unfamiliar with, where I was like, I'm sure that means someone to someone, but I've already forgotten it. And it's like out of context spoilers. Like, I could watch any of those shows and have no idea where this is headed and still enjoy them. I think they were making a subtle, longer con point in this whole experiment.
I think some people are still just always going to react violently to being spoiled, though. Some people will just be like, oh, I don't want to hear it, no matter what it is. Yeah. My buddy Dave, actually, someone almost ruined the Sixth Sense for him. But before he had the words out, my buddy Dave punched him in the throat. So.
No way.
Right?
Yeah.
Smell is the Sixth Sense? Is that?
Yeah.
The Sixth Sense is the sense of pain in your throat from my fist.
Yeah. I don't care too much about getting spoiled, but I do know some people who are, no matter what, they just don't want to hear it.
I used to be very sensitive about spoiling things. More sensitive, I guess I should say. Brian made it sound like I'm Mr. Like, I'm just going to spoil everything for anybody.
Well, no, it's been an evolving thing. You and I have argued about this several times, and we've read scientific
I have my
studies.
Own personal, I'm not that worried about spoilers in most cases. There are times when I would prefer not to be spoiled, even myself. But people have gotten so sensitive, like even talking about rumors of what might happen in a forthcoming movie. They're like, no spoilers. I'm like, how can it be a spoiler when we don't know what the truth is?
Okay, but all right. Can I real quick, like, let's flash back to a safe space. Let's go back to like Star Wars Episode 1. If you are the kind of person who analyzes trailers, it's fairly obvious watching the set pieces given and the characters given that there's only one reason that Ewan McGregor would be screaming no in agony in the same set piece where we just saw Ewan McGregor and Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul fighting. And you could put together, like, this is the way Bonnie is. Like, she can't divorce herself from understanding all the pieces. And she's like, well, we have this, this, and that. Well, clearly this happens. And the moment she says that, I was like, God damn it. And same thing happened, like, Andrew Main is one of those guys who can't not deconstruct a puzzle. He watched one of the most original, most mysterious trailers for Super 8 and spoiled it for everyone, saying like, it's clever. It's hiding in whatever it is. It's hiding in the water tower. And it's like, and I'm like, first of all, what? How did you even? I don't. Whatever. And then sure enough, I watched and it was hiding in the water tower. You know?
Oh, spoiler.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, that's an actual spoiler.
But those are trailers. You changed the conversation to trailers. I'm talking about even worse, where you're like, hey, I hear that so-and-so's character might be working for the Imperials at the beginning, and then he changes to be good and work for the Jedi. And but no spoilers. I'm like, how is that a spoiler? It's not even from a trailer. That's like, I read a rumor on a site.
Okay, if I can give an example from the magic world, right? There are times that I'll do a magic trick and somebody will walk away saying like, oh, well, it's clear he just has invisible thread attached to a card and that somebody blah, blah, blah. And it'll be a ridiculous method that's not at all correct. But strangely, the moment this guy goes around shouting that that's how it's done, whether he's right or he's wrong, he's ruined the sense of mystery, right? He's taken something away from everyone.
Okay, so you're arguing we should never talk about anything.
Well, I mean, that's the Jeff Kanata side of things. Jeff Kanata genuinely believes
because, you know, if we
that
discover
nobody
truths
should watch
in any way, it's going to ruin the mystery of life. So let's just not converse. Let's all shut up.
I mean, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I'm not saying I know what the answer is, but I'm saying that I do know that it's highly distracting, that my favorite part of every movie is the moment when I finally have seen all the things I saw in the trailer, that I'm past all the moments that I suspected might happen based on what I've
had that conversation. Yeah. You're going back to the trailer. I think it's ridiculous to accuse someone of spoiling them when you say a totally unfounded rumor that has no confirmation in fact. You're basically saying, do not speak of this movie around me. And you're right. That is what Jeff Kanata is like. I don't want to know anything about anything.
Which, by the way, we'll talk about this and what we're watching. When you know what, I'm gonna remind me to talk to you about Edge of Tomorrow, and let's move on. We can move on.
Let's gear up.
I say we should gear up.
A backpack. Put on a lightsaber.
Wear a Yoda.
Yeah.
On your back.
Wear a Yoda backpack. With Yoda in the Yoda backpack?
Yes.
This is the segment where we talk about the devices, the things that you can use. And actually, this is new capability coming to Chromecast, which we get to quite frequently lately. They've been coming fast and furious with the app upgrades. Sling and Twitch, the newest to add Chromecast capability. So the Sling apps, most of them, I think the Android tablet one doesn't have it yet, but it's coming soon. All the rest of them have it. Give you the ability to sling your Slingbox video to a Chromecast and watch it on a television, and then your display becomes a remote control. And Twitch. Twitch now allows you to send stuff to a Chromecast, and when you do send that Twitch video to the Chromecast, you get the chat room on the device that you're sending it from.
See, that is the smartest. That's the two-screen integration that we've always wanted. To be honest, this would be the biggest and best news in the world if only Twitch would allow you to do non-gaming content. It just seems like, what if somebody did a show about cord killing?
Oh, Brian, your axe is grinding again. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, jeez. Okay, don't get me started. Like, yes, I'm upset because Justin TV is gone, and this would have been the perfect kind of thing to do for our show. We used to live stream on Justin.tv. It was delightful. Now we can't because Twitch is gaming only, even only it's the same goddamn company. Seems like maybe instead what we're doing right now, for those of you guys watching it on videos, you see chat room. Chat room, say hello down below. We have to make it a video element of the show. Seems like it would be great if this could be available as the second screen experience.
Do you use a Chromecast, Bill?
I don't. I'm one of those guys who just plugged a PC into his television, and I just use that for everything, basically.
So you just HDMI cable?
Yep, HDMI cable. I do all my YouTube viewing there. I do my first-person shooting there, except for Destiny, playing that in the PS4. Woo!
And
yeah, that works out for me.
Here's the thing about Chromecast, right? If you're got either your cable or your over-the-air box on Slingbox, and you can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your tablet when you're walking around outside, and you can be in a hotel room anywhere there's an internet connection, et cetera, et cetera. What do you need to Chromecast it for? Is it for the back room, for the other television? Is it when you take the Chromecast with you on vacation and a router, and then you can watch your home television that way?
Are you asking me or Bill?
I'm asking either one of you.
Well,
yeah, I don't go outside, so
I mean,
don't need it.
Yeah, if you're talking to an individual, every individual, the right option is for them to set up a media PC. That is the right option for any one person. However, institutionally, there's all different kinds of problems with that because you have the babysitter problem. The Chromecast is the beginning. It is a middle step to solving the babysitter problem. 5 years from now, there'll be some device, whether it's the Chromecast 5 or some other device, that every device will be able to sling content to. It will negotiate the moment you walk in, much like Tony Stark's with Jarvis, just fling it onto other screens. We'll be able to do that. These are ugly middle steps to get us there, but once we're there, it's going to be amazing.
Well, I get that with Twitch, but for Slingbox particularly.
Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't understand why Slingbox does that at all. Well, actually, you know what? I could think of one very specific instance. Let's say two guys were best buddies. One of them lived in Austin and had no cable, but wanted to watch a cable program, and his buddy, his next door neighbor in Los Angeles had cable and was willing to let him sling content from time to time. I would imagine that guy would be pretty excited to be able to sling it to his Chromecast.
Doesn't seem likely that it ever happened.
What do you cop?
Yeah, got it, go. Yeah, it is an edge case, though. Seriously, like I got really excited about this. I think because of the spare bedroom. I think that's probably like the biggest. Like, oh, I can be on the other TV and not need to set up a cable box or a separate TiVo, and I'll be able to get all my Sling stuff and watch it on the other TVs.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, time to talk about ugly rubbers.
Yes, let's talk about your ugly rubbers and your pyromancers. Those, my friends, are 2 upgrades recently added to scamstuff.com. You guys know that Scamstuff is, spoiler alert, we make some money from our bosses, but also Tom and I stay independent by offering stuff in our little online stores. And so our little online store run out of my garage is Scamstuff. And the Pyromancer is an upgrade that allows you to, it looks just like a regular fashionable wristband, but inside is ferrocerium. Is that how it's pronounced? I'm trying to look it up.
I'm fairly certain you're close.
Ferrocerium is what it's called. Ferrocerium will strike on any rough object and produce sparks at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And so you could start fires with it. Like this is us using a knife on there. You could also use the inside to the rogue's ring. It's got a serrated edge, so basically you can start fires wherever you want. It's pretty cool, super cheap. And friend of the show, Dennis Rogers, came up with the training mechanism to tear decks of cards to build up the grip strength, because it turns out to practice tearing a deck of cards, turns out you have to tear a lot of deck of cards, and when you're spending $5 to $10 per deck, like that adds up. So wouldn't it be clever if you could tear a deck of cards or learn it by tearing up an ugly rubber, which is what he did, which is a brilliant idea. And they're both available at scamstuff.com. It's gear for the modern rogue, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Check it out, scamstuff.com. Time now for the front lines.
Front lines!
Front lines!
These are some other stories from the front lines of the news. Otter Media, you may have heard of them, you may not have. It's a joint venture of AT&T and the Chernin Group, is buying a controlling stake in Fullscreen. That's one of the biggest channels on YouTube. Fullscreen features folks like the Fine Brothers, Connor Franta, Andrea Russett, O2L, a bunch of others. Otter already owns Crunchyroll. So this is AT&T in a way, in a joint venture with Peter Chernin, former Fox News or News Corp executive, putting together a little web empire.
Dude, it's another step in the right direction as far as like getting some people paid who make content that people care about in an unconventional medium. I think it's a good idea. Does this resonate with you? Are you a Crunchyroll fan?
They do anime? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't watched anime since Trigun, so...
Wow, since I was 12.
It's been a while.
I feel like it's interesting because it's, this could be the future Comcast.
All right, man. If you sign up for a year of service, AT&T will give you 45 megabits of internet, basic TV, HBO, and Amazon Prime for $39 a month? Is this possible? Explain this to me.
He means 45 megabits per second to you very literal-minded folks who are out there going, well, 45 megabits isn't a lot.
okay, sorry. Per second.
Also, screw
up until
you
their
people.
caps.
Leave them alone.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Now, I can't get it in my region because I don't have AT&T Uverse, but is 45 megabits per second enough? It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. First of all, it's what I was paying premium prices for on Time Warner Cable until I switched over to AT&T Uverse.
I'm going to call it extension on this one.
Yeah, no, extension. They just upgraded our neighborhood to full gigabit. So some of you guys saw I posted a screenshot of a 795 megabit per second download that I got on speed test. So all of a sudden it doesn't sound like a lot. But how are they able to get this? Is this another one of those fig leaf setups where it's like, okay, quote unquote,
you only get this price for a year. But it's pretty compelling, and I love that they threw Amazon Prime in there. I think that's really interesting because it's like, we'll give you your internet, we'll give you your basic broadcast channels, we'll give you your HBO, and we'll throw in Amazon Prime Instant Streaming, so you got all that stuff, plus you get 2-day shipping for free for a year.
Yeah, I would jump on that in a heartbeat if it was available to me, but I'm stuck with Comcast.
Yeah, I it's almost worth doing just to get the shipping.
Yeah.
Because that's cheaper. It's like, what is it, $90 now for Amazon Prime usually?
Quick question: is there any notes on whether or not this you have to sign up for the internet preferences AT&T spyware thing?
No, I didn't see anything mentioned about that, but I didn't get that far in the sign-up process because it kicked me out because it's not available in my neighborhood. But I feel like if you don't have a better internet service, that's my thing, right? It's like, well, I've got fiber. And Brian, you've got fiber. So that would be the impediment. I'd almost be willing to be like, I'm going to keep my actual internet service. Could you just give me the rest of it for $39 a month? I just don't want the internet. I already got internet.
$39 a month seems pricey for Prime.
For HBO.
Well, it seems pricey
and
for
Amazon Prime, which is, okay, it's $90 a year. But
yeah,
you've said you would pay more than this for HBO in the past.
I will definitely pay $20 or $30 a month for HBO.
And now you're getting Amazon Prime on top of it.
Yeah,
and,
it's close. It's close.
And broadcast networks that you can use to authenticate when you sign into their apps.
It's very close. First of all, if you're not me, it's a great deal. But if you're me, then you're like,
Bill, if this was in your area, what do you think?
Done. I would sign up immediately. I think I'm actually paying that just for Comcast internet right now. So I would jump on it right away.
There you go.
Right on.
Apple and Amazon both introduced family sharing for media last week. Apple's comes with iOS 8. It's called family sharing. One account is billed for everything from up to 5 family members. So it's basically you're sharing the credit card is what you're doing. Amazon's is called Family Library, and it'll come at the end of October. It'll give you sharing of books, audiobooks, and Amazon Prime Instant Video, but not the downloadable, individually purchased or rented video. So it's a little bit confusing. Just the streaming service. And only shareable with people who are at your same billing address.
Right on. I really have nothing to say about that.
Actually, I love this because one of the problems I have is that I can't log into my own Amazon Instant Prime account because it's under Eileen's name. and I don't want to pay a second time just for the convenience of not having to log in as her. So I have to log in as her. It'd be great to be able to just
you know
log
what?
in.
Actually, I will. I'll take an extension so we can both chime in on this, because now that I think about it, I don't experience that difficulty with these services because my entire household runs on one Apple account. Everything is under my one. Now, right now, you know, we're 2 adults and 3 kids, most of which are too young to have their own device. But that's going to be a problem when we hit that 5 device limit going forward. I'll tell you where I definitely run into this is the fact that for Audible, both me and my wife have separate Audible accounts, and it appears we'll never be able to marry the two. I keep having to log out of mine and then log in as her, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, I guess I bought that one on mine after all, and go back to the other. It's ridiculous. If we get closer to a world where it recognizes that there are shared resources within a family unit, I'll be happy.
That's what this does.
Yes.
Amazon Family Library just solved your Audible problem.
Good. It will. Yeah, I was about to say, clearly didn't. But Bill, what about you, man?
We just end up, it's just my wife and I here. So she does Netflix, I do Amazon. We just share them on each other's devices. It works okay, but this seems kind of neat.
Yeah, this is going to make it easier. Time to get under surveillance.
Yeah, let's let other people watch us when we don't expect it.
Under surveillance. You're all under surveillance. Let's make no mistake. These are things that we can watch and have been watching, starting with things that are coming. Vimeo is selling 80 episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000 for $300. Plus, they say they're getting the rights to future episodes that have not been made available anywhere else on like Hulu or iTunes because of licensing deals. So we may be getting MST3K that we haven't seen in decades on Vimeo.
Wait, with whom do they make this kind of agreement? I assume Comedy Central. Does Comedy Central own this, or do you think there was a private production
I didn't
company?
research that question. Who actually owns MST3K
Yeah,
anymore? I mean, it was created in Minnesota on a television station, and then it was licensed to Comedy Central, and Viacom probably has some rights, but then I bet Joel's production company has some rights, and I don't know who actually ultimately owns it. Good question.
I'm just really glad that MST3K is still relevant.
Oh, and it will be. I mean, those guys were sharp. And what's amazing, like, here's what's timeless about MST3K is they built the brand based on essentially dead or so cheap it might as well be dead footage from crap movies and built it into the conceit to where really it just becomes an improv show. I mean, it was great.
And some of those movies had licenses that didn't allow them to reissue them. And I love the idea that Vimeo is going to come in and fix that and say, like, yeah, we'll work through this stuff. That'd be great. Hulu has a deal with Bad Robot. That's J.J. Abrams' production company to produce a 9-hour series based on Stephen King's book 11/22/63, which is about the Kennedy assassination.
Yes, a million times yes. This is maybe the best book Stephen King's written in the last 10 years, and I'm including the last 3 books of the Dark Tower series, which you know is very beloved to me. This book has a fantastic premise. It has good execution, good development, and unlike most Stephen King books, it sticks the landing at the end. It ends extremely strong and satisfying. Maybe one of my favorite Stephen King books ever. I don't know. And knowing that J.J. Abrams, a company that has a background that by and large understands the importance of mystery and of selling people on the bigger questions, very excited about this. I trust and I believe.
Netflix has picked up 2 seasons of a Judd Apatow show called Love. It will star Gillian Jacobs and Paul Rust as, quote, a couple in the throes of experiencing the exhilarations and humiliations of intimacy, commitment, and other things they were hoping to avoid and expected in 2016. That description makes me not want to watch it, but the fact that it's Judd Apatow and it's coming to Netflix, Bill, does that change things for you? You intrigued?
Well, I mean, just that I can throw it on and watch the whole thing on Netflix makes me more inclined to watch it anyway. So maybe, I don't know.
To be honest, I think they are intentionally burying the lead on this. There's going to be some angle, you know, the 60-year-old programmer and his comic book collection of sex, you know, or there'll be some kind of angle that they'll reveal later. This is the kind of thing they know that the big story is Judd Apatow and that they've got him for 2 seasons preemptively is why they're launching it this way.
Because Orange is the New Black did not capture me the first time it was described as, you know, a woman gets in trouble and gets sent to prison and talks about her experiences. I'm like, okay, maybe that's going to be interesting to some people. And I ended up loving that series, both seasons of it.
Yeah, that's me too. I wasn't sure about it, but because I was like, oh, it's on Netflix anyway, we could just fire it up. Let's go for it. And then 3 hours later, we're like, guess we're watching all of this.
Hey, man, so what have you been watching lately, Bill?
We watched Sherlock twice. We finished the 3rd season, then just started over again. So that's our big thing.
Okay, so can we talk about the 3rd season of Sherlock? Because as I've gotten some distance from it, I think I decided that I pretty much hate the 3rd season of Sherlock.
Okay.
Can you convince me otherwise?
Well, how did you feel about the beginning of the 3rd season?
I loved it the first 5 times. They explained how awkward it was that he was back from the dead.
Yeah.
And then they spent the rest of the movie explaining like, isn't it hilariously awkward that I'm not dead? I was like, I thought this was going somewhere. Then the second one I full on hated. Although Tom liked it. The 3rd one I thought was good up until the spoiler alert. They're all like, remember that character who was dead for 2 whole episodes? Well, he's back. And I'm just like, ugh.
Well, I will tell you that the 3rd season wasn't my favorite, but it got me back in the mood to go check out the first one again. And watching the 1st season for a second time, kind of knowing where the characters end up, was a lot of fun.
Well, and so did it make you, having finished the 3rd season again, did it make you appreciate the first one even more? Did you think it was even better?
Yeah, just because like watching them not like the 2 characters not be friends when they first met versus where they were at the end, it was really fun to see them turn into that. Whereas the first time I was like, it's Sherlock and Watson. I thought I already knew this story.
Right. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, I noticed that you have finally gotten back into a show that is dear to a lot of hearts in our audience, Blue's Clues.
Oh, my God. Look, people have asked me to tell the truth about what I've been watching. Here's what's amazing is my 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, has discovered Blue's Clues. It's literally one of her first words is boo, boo, and points at the TV. So it becomes clear. Having said that, she'll be the one who insists it get turned on, and then once it does, it slowly hypnotizes everyone else in the family, and we all just veg out watching Blue's Clues. It's brilliant in its simplicity and the fact that it's always exactly the same. This morning, I dozed off but forget about all that. Here's the reason I wanted to bring it up is because it has lured us into the Amazon Prime space on our Xbox. And all of a sudden, I find myself watching, like, when I back out of Blue's Clues, I don't go all the way out and then go to Netflix. I'm like, well, what else do they got? And I started to watch a movie. Was it How to Get Rich Selling Drugs or something? It was produced by Adrian Grenier, the guy from that HBO Entourage. At any rate, it's amazing to see me seduced to their marketplace based on this one exclusive that I don't even enjoy, that it's really my kid that enjoys. But I've also, I continue to walk Penelope through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She finished the Avengers. She watched Iron Man 2 yesterday. She's going to hold off. We'll watch Iron Man 3 tomorrow, and then we'll watch The Winter Soldier later on. And to be honest, I don't even mind that I'm paying $3.99 per episode because turns out when you cut $100 out of your budget, you could afford to pay for a lot of one-day rentals. It's awesome.
And is she liking them?
Yeah, she is. Originally, like, she loved Guardians of the Galaxy because it was funny. And to her, I was like, well, where do you want to begin? And she's like, whatever's funniest. That's all that mattered to her was funny. But I could tell she's now in this, she's far enough along that she's got this like completionist thing now. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we get done with Iron Man 3, if she doesn't ask me if she can watch The Incredible Hulk and start, filling out the rest of that catalog.
Yeah.
She asked for the first time if we could go to a comic book store, and it kind of melted our hearts a little bit.
That's a special day right there.
It was.
But also Doctor Who Season 2, I saw that you put down.
And again, that came because I tried to show, there was a Reddit thread, like, what's the best thing on Netflix? And somebody put Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I was like, oh my God, that was a great movie. And somebody was talking about how he showed it to his 8-year-old son and he loved it. So I loaded it up for my 7-year-old daughter. And very quickly, she's like, Dad, can we watch the other show about the time traveling phone booth, the good one? She was not a fan.
The other show about the time traveling phone booth is hilarious. I love that.
And so we went back and we started watching the David Tennant ones, which I had never seen because I skipped that season. So it's been fun to watch a few of those.
Cool. Well, has that, because I know you're ambivalent. It's not like you don't like Doctor Who, but it hasn't really captured you. Has this changed it? Or are you still like, they're fine?
Dude, what's weird is being on the outside, I only saw bits and pieces of David Tennant. And I remember seeing just from like the snippets that I saw, though, I'm like, oh no, he's the best Doctor. Even though I didn't watch that season and didn't know any of the stories, it's like he's the doctoriest Doctor out of all the Doctors that I've seen since Tom Baker. And all this has done is reinforce that. David Tennant's the best Doctor.
So I have a question. If hypothetically someone hasn't seen any of Doctor Who ever, where would one start?
I get that question a lot, actually. Yeah. There are many schools of thought, but the most common answer is you probably want to start with the modern restarting of the series rather than going back to the classic. And some people say you should pick up like 2 or 3 of the Eccleston season and then get into Tennant. Some people say just watch the whole Eccleston season. But you can't go wrong with the Tennant seasons, I don't think.
All right.
By the way, Nth Mike says, why didn't you start with season 1? And the answer is, well, I did watch all of season 1. I just never got around to watching season 2. So now I'm doing that. And then I picked up again in the Matt Smith days.
I've been watching the Peter Capaldi Doctor Who, the current ones, and I have to say he is blowing me away. He is incredibly impressive at making this Doctor alien, making him clever, and in many cases, taking storylines and even some dialogue that would have just been okay and elevating it in a way that I don't think any of the Doctors ever have done. He's just incredibly fascinating to watch at work. And these stories have been different. They've been choppy. They've been darker. In some cases, that's great, and I've enjoyed it. This past week, I think, is probably one of the strongest episodes they've done in this new season because even though it's inconsistent and there's some holes, that's normal for Doctor Who. I just sort of accept that. And it's the Ocean's 11 of Doctor Who. It's probably one of the tighter mystery plots that they've done, and it was it kept me guessing at parts. So I think this has been a really good season for Doctor Who. I've also watched Fargo, which we're going to talk about in spoiler in time. The Shield, episode 5 of season 3. We'll talk about The Leftovers again now that I've actually watched it after getting spoiled last week. And last night, Eileen just started watching a bunch of Once Upon a Time on Netflix. So I know Bill Meeks will be excited to hear because he does the Once Upon a Time podcast. I'm actually catching up on that show, and it's the perfect show to play Star Force on your Nexus 7 while you're watching because you don't have to pay 100% attention.
Dude, I actually have a strong respect for shows that I can sort of half tune out. It's brilliant.
It's just interesting enough because it's taking all those fairy tales and putting them together that you're like compelled to watch, but you don't feel bad if you miss a little bit because it's broadcast television, right? It's network TV. On our radar, coming up this week, it's the big fall premieres are happening now. Gotham, which is the young Bruce Wayne and the young DC Universe characters, comes to Fox. Arrow comes back. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back. And Box Trolls is hitting the theaters. You guys excited at any of those?
Out of all of those, I don't trust any of them. Like investing my time, and I hear that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has gotten good, and maybe I'll jump straight in at some point. But I don't know that it's in me to just do pilots so much anymore, you know?
You know what I would do if I were you, Brian Brushwood, and I want to tell the rest of the audience this may not be good advice for you, but for Brian Brushwood, I think this is good advice. If you're going to watch The Winter Soldier with your daughter.
Shoot, you're right.
You should just watch The Winter Soldier and then watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the episode from that same week when The Winter Soldier came out.
You know what? You're right, because if what she wants is more of that story, I can introduce her to that, and then maybe
And don't worry about slogging through the first half of the season. There are a few things that would be clearer if you watched them, but I think you could probably just jump right in.
Yeah. All right. Nope. That's totally fair. By the way, it was so adorable watching Iron Man 1 to see the first entrance of Agent Coulson. Like back when he's a nothing bit, whiny guy trying to get him in this ridiculous government agency. It was so cool knowing what he means later in the series. Yeah. Shall we take some dispatches from the front?
I think we should.
Well, then let's do that.
All right. If you say so.
Starting now. Wait.
All right.
Nope. Wait. And go.
We got in trouble with the boss, Brian.
Oh, jeez. Which
John
one?
from Queens wrote in, said, guys, I know you've been working hard, but it's really out of step taking a vacation without giving your 1,900 plus bosses a heads up before doing so. Some sort of note from a doctor checking in with others in your work group so your job responsibilities don't get forgotten while you're away. Also, you need those TPS reports to have up-to-date covers.
Thank you, Sean from Queens. We apologize. We promise it won't happen again.
Did you at least set an OOF message response on your inbox?
I did. I scheduled a tweet.
Yeah.
Right?
They thought we were dead. Hey, man, Robert writes us, hey, Tom and Brian, I was listening to your discussion of on-cue service in episode 36. I think you guys are reading too much into it. This is still the traditional paradigm of cable television. Consumers will just be trading one set-top box for another that uses a different delivery medium. Instead of using the wire for your cable provider, you'll be using the wire to your ISP, which may or may not be the same company. The a la carte channel option is the truly exciting news for customers or consumers. I think that's what we said. The concept of internet TV seems exciting to cord cutters because we associate internet with expanded options and availability. However, on-cue service is still just providing TV service tied to a set-top box. Again, no disputes there. The network's providers are slow to come on board because this word internet is scary to them. I don't know. That seems specious. It seems like you're giving credit to one side and not credit to another. I
tell you what, this is a perfectly legitimate way to look at on-cue, not knowing anything else about it. But I think it's quite possible when on-cue comes out, it's not just service like we've seen before tied to a box delivered for the internet. Even if it was, that means it can be offered anywhere in the United States, which makes it considerably different from Comcast, Time Warner, Cablevision, and all of those. But on top of that, this is going to have the ability to have apps. Even when it was part of Intel, they described that as part of the services. Like, you'll be able to watch things on demand. You'll be able to watch things on the go. So I'd like to see what those offerings are before I just poo-poo them and say, oh, well, they're useless, right? This may be, if you subscribe to this, you can watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on any device you please. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying that's kind of what they've promised. And a la carte would have to be a part of this to make it anywhere close to that. But I think I disagree with Robert here. I think this has the potential to be closer to what we want.
It might not be exactly what we want, but it might be a stepping stone towards what we want.
Baby steps, as we say on the show. Hey, Kevin writes us saying, hey, man, is there going to be a winter movie draft this year? And to which I say, oh, crap, is it really almost October? Because we should get to work.
Definitely do that, Kevin.
I'll tell you what, we did teams during the summer. I believe our current plan is to do just singular players. So it'll probably be me, Justin, Tom, and we'll have to look for the rest of the gang to participate in the winter movie draft. Man, I don't know. I wonder, Bill Duran, if there's a place for anyone from the punish props side of things on a draft.
I'm down. I can be competitive.
All right.
I'll cut a bitch.
That's all we need. Is the willingness.
That was not where I thought that was going to go.
And then Bill Russell wanted to let Brian know that Legend of Korra is back on October 4th with the final book. How weird is it that book 3 ended on August 22nd and 6 weeks later, book 4 starts up?
Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart on the one hand because, like, traditionally, that's not a move that's associated with an incredibly successful property, right? But on the other hand, the only reason I didn't finish, we only watched the first couple of episodes of book 3 because we're cord cutters. The only way we were able to watch it was on some pirated anime site, and I was too tired of the porn ads on the side that I had to explain to my 6-year-old, And so I think it's great that everything's going to be available online, but I mean, unfortunately, I don't know, artistic history is littered with the corpses of truly amazing ventures that for whatever reason just got discarded, Firefly.
We ended up watching all of the Legend of Korra stuff on the Xbox Live Video Marketplace, where you can buy it a la carte on the Nickelodeon channel thing. That's where we ended up buying it. So we just bought a season of it and just watched the episodes as they came in.
I know that the creators wanted to do something different, but I question the smarts of making each season its own independent, complete story. Like, compared to, it's clear by the 4th or 5th episode in Avatar, The Last Airbender, the original, that you are in for an epic saga that's gonna take 3 full cycles to get you to where you want to go. They wrap up the first season, and they're like, and that's all done. Now let's start a brand new story with a new set of rules. And you're like, oh, okay. I guess that was it. And so, I don't know. We'll see. I have to watch it, and I'll report back to you.
All right. Do we need any others?
No. I think we're short on time. Real quick. No, we don't have time. That's right. Thank you to everyone. Cordkillers@gmail.com.
Bill Duran, thank you for joining us. Let folks know where they can find more Bill Duran.
Well, you can find everything I'm working on, all my prop and costume making stuff over at punishedprops.com, including my new foam armor painting ebook, part of the Foam Smith trilogy, over there for like $5. So if you're looking to make costume armor or anything, it's a super low price point. You just go in and grab that.
And
punishedprops.com.
Having witnessed Bill's work up close, I can say, like, you want to get some tips from this guy. Punishedprops.com. Check it out, folks. That is it for Cordkillers. As Brian said, cordkillers@gmail.com. You can find us at cordkillers.com. And we are live at diamondclub.tv every Monday. We're back on Mondays now at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Doom, doom, doom.